Have you ever wondered about the most deadly pandemic in history, the Black Death? Picture this. It's the spring of 1347. A silent, unseen terror begins its journey in the bustling ports of Sicily. Unbeknownst to the people, the Black Death has arrived, setting the stage for a pandemic that would change the world. This invisible enemy brings with it not just a wave of fear and devastation, but also an era-defining shift. In the spring of 1347, the course of history was forever altered. From the Mediterranean ports, the Black Death began its deadly spread. Unseen passengers, rats carrying the disease, boarded Genoese trading ships, setting course for Messina, Sicily. With the arrival of these ships, the plague was unleashed. Like wildfire, the disease ravaged through cities and towns, traveling along trade routes and reaching every corner of Europe. The speed and severity of the outbreak left communities in shock, unable to halt the rapid advance of this deadly enemy. The disease was on the move, its deadly path set. The symptoms of the Black Death were as terrifying as they were deadly. Fever would strike first, followed by violent bouts of vomiting. The most frightening sign was the appearance of swollen, blackened lymph nodes, a sure sign of infection. The speed of the disease was relentless, leaving towns and cities to grapple with an enormous death toll. Mass graves became a grim necessity, and panic swept through society like a wildfire. A terrifying disease, the Black Death brought utter despair. In the face of death, society began to shift. The colossal loss of life led to a severe labor shortage. Suddenly, those who were left discovered their labor was at a premium. Wages began to climb, and the once rigid feudal structures started to crumble. The emergence of a more prosperous merchant class marked a shift in the socio-economic landscape. Wealth was no longer the exclusive domain of the nobility. The Black Death was reshaping society in unexpected ways. The church, once a source of comfort, faced its own crisis. The Black Death spared no one, not even the clergy, shaking the foundations of faith. Many began to question the church's authority as it failed to provide solace or answers in these desperate times. Traditional faith wavered, leading to a rise in alternative beliefs and a shift in religious dynamics. In the wake of this relentless pandemic, it wasn't just lives that were lost, but old convictions as well. In the midst of devastation, faith too was being tested. Art began to reflect the grim reality of the pandemic. Artists, deeply affected by the overwhelming despair and loss, began to portray this dark chapter in their works. One such artist was Peter Bruegel the Elder, whose haunting painting, The Triumph of Death, chillingly encapsulates the widespread desolation of the time. His canvas became a battlefield, a testament to the relentless march of the Black Death. Through their art, these artists captured the despair, becoming a mirror to the suffering. Medieval medicine, unprepared for the Black Death, struggled to find solutions. Rooted in the theory of humorism, physicians believed in balancing bodily fluids, leading to practices like bloodletting. Herbal remedies, believed to ward off evil spirits, were common. However, these methods proved largely ineffective against the relentless onslaught of the plague. The pandemic exposed the limitations and misunderstandings of medieval medicine. In the face of such devastation, medicine was at a loss, the plague proving a formidable adversary. In the face of despair, many sought solace in faith. As the Black Death swept across Europe, a movement surged in response to the fear and uncertainty. The flagellants, as they were known, took to the streets, whipping themselves in public acts of penance. They believed their sacrifice could appease an angry God, a desperate plea for mercy in the shadow of death. This extreme expression of religious fervor illustrates the depth of desperation during this time. Religion provided a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. The Black Death's journey was as rapid as it was deadly. Spreading faster than wildfire, it swept across the continent, its deadly grasp facilitated by bustling trade routes, overcrowded cities, and abysmal sanitation conditions. From the Mediterranean shores to the cold northern realms, it decimated populations in a matter of weeks, transforming thriving cities into ghost towns. The Black Death was an uninvited guest, a harbinger of death that moved with an alarming pace. The Black Death left no corner of Europe untouched. The Black Death was more than a disease, it was a turning point in history. This medieval pandemic reshaped societies, economies, religious beliefs, and medical practices. Its legacy, A profound societal shift, the rise of merchant classes, the questioning of traditional faith, and a radical re-evaluation of medical understanding. 25 million people are estimated to have died in Europe from the plague between 1347 and 1351. This, my friends, is the story of the impact of the Black Death in 1347. Thank you for joining me on this journey through medieval history. If you enjoyed this exploration, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the annals of the past.